Hello, everyone, and my name is Misti Gaither. I'm your host of Quest, a journey into true crime and the paranormal. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I have with me Francesca Garcia. She is the host of Supernatural Eye, a channel on YouTube, and so be sure to go and check that out and subscribe. She's got some wonderful videos that we'll get into a little bit later, and also a member of Party Paranormal. And you know what? I had the pleasure of meeting you, I guess about 2 months ago. Anyway, right, our
April.
mutual, April. Yeah. Okay, so
but it was like towards the end, so I guess it was like technically a month ago.
Yeah, we'll just say that, sure. Our mutual friend Katie McVeigh, who threw a wonderful event, y'all, and I know she's gearing up already for part 2. I mean, Booths on the Battleship, that was such an incredible event.
It really was. It was very neat and just settled too. I just never been on a battleship, so to me that was definitely amazing. Like, it was breathtaking, just like stepping on that ship. It was cool.
Yeah, it really was. And then we had like practically the whole run of the place. I mean, that normally, like the public don't get, they don't get to investigate or go on tours or anything. So that was really good. And I do apologize for interrupting y'all's EVP session the one time. I didn't know. And so I walked in and, me and my loud mouth, and I'm like, and
it was pitch black. But you have to get used to it. It was like a group setting. So it's just kind of, you have to get used to people like walking through, like going to different places, especially the guests that pay to, go there. They're going to check out the other locations that are on the ship as well. So no hard.
I was just say, if y'all get a crazy, it's not an EVP, that was me. So just letting y'all know. I noticed that you have this affinity, I believe would be a correct word, for museums. Like, as far as, like the what is that, the Gold Coast Railroad Museum, you're really passionate about trying to help them raise money to stay open, and I really, because I do a lot of fundraising, like in my personal life for different causes. And so that, I was like, oh, okay. And then, it was like museums were a lot on your like your feed, and so I was just wondering, like, if there is a personal draw or something that just draws you to museums. like me, I have a thing about the Axeman, so I do all things Axeman. So I was just wondering if you like, as far as like museums, if that's kind of maybe your go-to, or it's just a coincidence.
Really anything. The thing with like museums in Florida per se, I know with developers, like, they're money hungry, so they're always trying to build condos. Like, hey, you got competition. I always say Florida has so much potential, not to be off subject with the paranormal. I mean, it's got so much history. You got St. Augustine, the first city of the United States. But again, Florida is money business, money-making business for developers and trying to build these condos, everybody moving down here. So a lot of the times what they're doing is knocking down these historical museums and places to build new development or whatever the case is. So to me, I think it's very important that we still teach Florida history and the culture and what was brought in the history with these museums. So it was the Gold Coast Railroad Museum. It's one of my favorite places to investigate with Party Paranormal. We do a couple of events down in different museums and locations down in South Florida, and that's one of my favorites because that place is just crazy and just filled with so much energy, and it's just never a dull moment. Even on a slow night, like, you're just going to get so much activity, and it's just because of all these railroad carts and everything else that are there. It have so much personality to them. You have the presidential, you have the Zephyr, you just have the NASA railroad car, you just have a whole bunch of them, the medical, so they all have their own little personalities. But even so, like, there's a lot of, and I get it, it's the land. They want to, like, I think rumor with Gold Coast Railroad Museum, they wanted to build a water park. So things are getting a little bit better now since the word spread out, but it's still, you don't want to say it's safe because, again, developers will come back. They're like money hungry, so they'll find ways, and money talks, unfortunately. So I'm just trying my hardest to spread the word. Just kind of make every paranormal investigator, you can go, it's not just Party, paranormal dominated, they kind of connect with us to do the events there and everything else, but anybody else can go attend, Gold Coast Railroad Museum and, help them out. So they do privates. Again, you don't have to attend the events. You don't have to go with Party Paranormal and do these events that we do to have, educate the public. You can go ahead yourself and, try to reserve a private investigation at the Gold Coast Railroad Museum. So I highly recommend it and help these, local historical places out down in South Florida.
I really, I think that's so important. And I've had, I brought this up in conversation with some of my guests about how important it is for us as paranormal investigators to give back because,
Right.
these places, they rely on teams that investigate there and the public to come and tour. And, that's how that they're able to maintain and to restore the place and to
Right.
for the upkeep. So, I really admire that you are putting the word out there for the place to be able to continue. And even though we don't want to say that out loud because like you said that people, they'll be like, oh, there's money to be made, and so we have that same problem in New Orleans,
Right.
but I just think it's everywhere. So
I
you know
bet, and that's the thing. It's just so much development, and I get it. It's just all this new ideas, and and I get that the population is expanding. But the point is, it's just, yeah, you don't want to knock these places down. They have so much history, and it's like where we came from, and we learn from. Even if it's like bad history, we learn from it too. So it's like you definitely want to maintain them as well, and learn from it. In other words, but and also they're not just because it's haunted too. You build these bonds with the spirits as well. It's kind of odd to say because the more we go there, it's like you connect with them and they feel
sure
more connected with you. So they'll come out even if they don't like you. But sometimes it's like, you go fishing. It's not like you're going to always get activity in these locations. But when you go to a location frequently, it's like you built this bond with the spirits as well. So I don't know. I just feel like you kind of built that bond not only with the living but the dead. So you're also helping the place, the staff, the fundings, but also the dead as well. I don't know. It's weird to say that, but it's true.
I'll say it all the time. So if I say that's weird, then I'm saying I'm weird, and so I'm not going to say that. But I do.
Because we're all a little weird.
Right. you know, um, I totally understand what you mean by that because it helps both. So let me ask you, what got you interested in the paranormal? Was it like an experience or something maybe you saw on TV, a personal experience, or what happened that made you say, "Hey, I want to do that"?
Sure. I would say it's a little bit of both. So starting out like young, I had personal experiences. Definitely connect more with my sleep. I felt like I saw the other side more connecting, like, dead ones that passed on, family members I never met before that connected with my sleep. So I feel like definitely that's my most vulnerable state, and how I started as young. But afterwards, I just had that curiosity, like, am I going crazy? What's going on with me? So I do have a degree in psychology. Just I went as far as a bachelor's degree because psychology kind of conflicts with the paranormal. So
Just a tad.
uh, yeah, so I mean, it's good to have,
Sure,
because
sure,
it's,
of
not
course.
everything's always paranormal. Not everything's always, so it's always good to, bring out the science and, rationalize things and try to debunk things. That's what it's useful for. But it does conflict, at the end of the day. And that's why I couldn't go further with psychology. I was trying to go for like forensics and all that. But that's a whole, speaking of crime, but that's a whole nother,
Almost
and
like
it's a
forensics. That's also my, yeah.
forte.
You're right.
But it's definitely a very dark field too when you go into forensics. You get to deal with some like heavy duty, yeah, cases and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, I just felt like it conflicted with what I was trying to do. And, I always wanted to prove to people that this exists, and to take it in a different perspective. Not everything what you see on TV and Hollywood's all hyped and demonic. So it's like I kind of want to educate the public too, to be respectful and that these are just human beings. And we're all trying to find answers what happens life after death as well. So I just had like a whole nother, like, just I guess you could say like I didn't go for psychology. I kind of like had to go more into the paranormal and find, the answers, which we still don't know what the answers are because I just feel like it's gonna be one of those things we don't know. But from there on, I think it was during college, I grabbed my group of friends. Of course, it's like you have to find your people. Not everybody wants to do the paranormal. So I was always the
Right.
weird one out of the group, right? So
Yes.
I dragged my friends. My first investigation, I'll never forget it. And it's always going to be like kind of like it's like your first time. Like, it's like a memorable moment. But it was the St. Augustine, the old jail. So that's always going to be like where it started for me. Like, hey, this is what I want to be a paranormal investigator. This is like professionally what I want to do, right? So I went there. I did one of those like paranormal investigation, like that you pay for. I think it was a couple hours, and from there on, they gave us the tools, like the K2s, and
Oh
like
yeah.
like the yeah, so all that fun stuff. And I was like, yeah, this is so cool. Well, this is before I bought anything, And I'm like, I really want to do this. And my friend's like, you're so freaking weird. Whatever, we're here to support you. Just buy some drinks the next morning, right? Because I was in college, and that was like the time. Like, I just want to go to a bar. I just want to go drink, and I'm here
Sure.
like, I
Sure.
want to chase ghosts. So I had to drag them. So I convinced them to come with me, and I'll buy them drinks, but you know how it is. Sometimes they don't take things seriously. So I was like, I need to find my people. So I kind of like dragged people to come with me. That's how Supernatural Eye actually started. at first. And you could see like the first season, and that's how I wanted to keep it too, is very raw. So you could see it's not like very professionally done. I'm here trying to like make it happen, and how do I do this, right? So I'd like drag my friends to all these locations to try to help me investigate in my weird hobbies or whatever. And I start slowly collecting, like, buying, equipment like K2s and, the Ovilus or whatever, like the GoPro camera,
Sure.
like, back when those came out with the infrared and all that stuff, or the night vision modified lens or whatever. But all that stuff I start slowly collecting throughout the years. And I've been doing it for like what, like over 10 years, I think, just starting off from college and then growing up and then recently, I would say probably about well, it's been 5 years ago. I can't believe I'm saying that, but it's like maybe 4 or 5 years ago. War Party found me through Supernatural Eye when I first started doing it. And they're like, maybe this girl needs some help. I don't know. But she's like, she's down on the other she's down on the other coast, because they're more based on or most of my team members are more like down in like the East Coast. So that's more
Okay.
like Miami, like Fort Lauderdale, West Palm
Mm-hmm.
Beach. So I'm more on Naples, which is the West Coast, and it's about like an hour and a half drive. But he was like, you should come, check us out. We do a 90-day trial for new members to see if they're fit to be on the team. And then from there on, I just kind of joined War Party Paranormal. And then from there on, I just kind of expanded and started, I don't know, growing from there on, I guess. But thanks to War Party Paranormal, I really have to, thank them and the team and everybody else. Eric, Scotty Bird, Zap too. Scotty, she was our co-founder. She passed away just
Right.
recently. So just, if it wasn't for them, probably wouldn't be where I'm at. And, everybody else to help me with this journey.
People watch investigators and shows on TV, and then, like you were saying, not everything's demonic, or everybody doesn't get
Yes.
possessed on every, maybe not any investigation. It's certainly not on any one. So I was thinking about, you had made a post about Aaron Goodwin.
Mhm.
And to me, watching that clip of him, when he was talking about his wife and how that she, had hired someone to kill him, and just that moment when he was reading his impact statement was so raw.
Yeah, I know.
And it was like, it made him more human, I guess,
Right.
in a way, because, like you see people on TV or whatever, and you don't think about them having, private lives or what they go through, and to me that just kind of summed up everything, because, it's easy, sometimes that we sit and we say, oh, okay, well, somebody's about to get possessed, or, oh, look at them, it's going to happen. And yet, we say that about the show, but sometimes I think if it wasn't for the show, it wouldn't be others, it's just kind of
Exactly.
Right. And so I don't know. It just really, I had followed the story, and then I just rewatched it on the clip of him doing that. And it just, like I said, it just really touched me, because,
Yeah.
it was so raw, and it was so sad. And it was like,
It was.
and we're just used to seeing goofy Aaron on the show,
Yeah.
and, making everyone else laugh and having a good time while he's investigating. And then here then you see him, and it's just so, like a wound, an open wound. Yeah. And so I think, and my point was, we see so many people on TV that we forget
The humanity.
right, the humanity. And so that just kind of made me think of that today, that, we're investigators, and we're on shows, and we on YouTube and this, but at the end of the day, we're still human, and when we still make mistakes, and we still, so I think that there has to be an avenue of understanding. And maybe sometimes, like in the paranormal world, I'm finding that sometimes it's a hard thing, because, we get so wrapped up, okay, I want to be on a show. I want to do this. I want to do that. And then I wonder how many, like some of us, some people, like, I wonder when's the last time they've actually did a real, true investigation.
Right. To
without
help
all the
somebody out.
bells and whistles and without
Like a
all the lights.
residential.
Yeah,
Yes.
like when's the
Hmm.
last time like someone's helped a family out, or
Yes.
and so I don't know. This just watching that clip today on your page, it just kind of made me think, and I was wondering what your take was.
Sure. I definitely with Erwin, and I know that Ghost Adventures gets a lot of rap, for whatever. And I think everybody can agree that Aaron Goodwin's probably like everyone's favorite.
Sure.
I think off go, you just know he's always been that guy that you can kick it with and have a good investigation with. Like he's that sweet guy, like that humble, like goofy guy. So it broke my heart. I think everybody else can also agree, like just seeing him and his emotions come like authentically, like raw, and everybody is human, like you said, at the end of the day. Like we see these celebrities or, on TV or whatever the case is, and we think that there's a certain way that they have to act and be. And in reality, they're just human, like they're like everybody else. And we need to, give them some space and sympathy and empathy, and also at the same time, because this guy, I mean, I can imagine the position he's in, and just trusting somebody that you loved and you thought that you can spend the rest of your life with, and betray you like that. That's just horrible. And it's not just like a betrayal, like, hey, I'm cheating on you, which she did, but it
Right.
was
Yeah.
just more, I mean, she did multiple times, but it's just more like, I'm here to take your life away because I feel like I can have a better life with someone else. And to me, that's just horrible to like know that. How can you even take that person back? I hope you would never take her back. But at the end of the day, it just comes to show that he is human. So when I saw him like just break it down in court, like honestly, like I start crying, which is pathetic to say because I've never met the guy. So I don't, I can't say like I just really don't know him, but I want to believe he's a good guy, and
Hmm.
he has that authenticity to him, and those raw emotions, and just to see that he's always been so vibrant and happy on TV, and we don't know what goes on in his personal life, and
Sure.
people suspect that, oh, is he like, because he dabbles a lot with all these cases and trying to
Hmm.
like, whatever with the dark side of Ghost Adventures. Is it true that maybe he had some type of attachments? I know that theory's going out too, like maybe the girl was like possessed or something, and he has bad luck. 'Cause I think he had like a bad first marriage or
Right.
something like
Right.
that,
Yeah.
or I don't know what the case is, but we honestly don't know the story. We have to respect his space and support him, because it's just scary to know that there possibly a hitman was after him. And still today, like you don't know what arrangements were
Sure.
done.
Right. It's
So to
scary.
me, I can imagine like just being on edge and living on fear. It's a constant trauma. I mean, it's just traumatizing overall. Anybody to be in his shoes, you have to think the humanity aspect, like you said, because it's just even if he doesn't even want to be on the show for a little bit, I mean, they have to respect that. I'm not saying that he will. We don't know what his
Right.
decision is ultimately, but I would feel like he needs his space, his energy, and to kind of rejuvenate and get back to himself, because that's just going to be an ongoing. You can ignore it and do so much, but at the same time, I just hope that he has the time, the space to heal, and get back to himself. I know it's going to take some time because I can imagine that being so traumatic. In other words, like just trusting somebody for them to do that to you at the end of the day. Um, but I was, yeah, that's my take about the whole
Okay.
Aaron Goodwin.
Well,
Yeah.
you had mentioned the phrase about being having empathy and stuff,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
so I'm just wondering, do you consider yourself gifted, like being an empath or sensitive or a medium?
I don't know. I don't know if I would say a medium or like, see, I don't know. I would say I'm definitely empathic, definitely growing up. And I know it sounds, everybody says that, like, oh, I'm an empath, whatever. But I definitely feel like I am very sensitive when it comes to emotions. Even going to, like, as a kid, just going to a place, I always felt like there's a vibe, there's
Mm-hmm.
something there, and it lingers me to go to whatever room or something that kind of like tells me, hey, I got to go here. Not that it tells me, but I just feel that direction. So it's a feeling. So
Mm-hmm.
it's not more that I see things. So I always felt like I sensed that, sensation, I guess, with like the living and the dead. Also with emotions with people, meeting people. Sometimes I get like really weird out in social places
Right.
because I
Right.
just like pick up some. I get really awkward sometimes, and people, you might pick up on that. I don't know, but sometimes I get really awkward, or I talk loud, or I get like really nervous. But I think it's because I pick up so much. So in public places, I don't really like to go when there's like too much of a crowd because I get really overwhelmed. Animals, it's weird to say, but I feel like they're talking to, not that they're talking to me, but it's like I can feel them out. If it's weird, if it's like, I can feel like if like some bird's like upset or like, I don't know. It's just, it sounds so stupid to say, but it's so true. It's like as a kid, I
No,
felt
it's
like
true.
I've been weird like that. But yeah, I guess you could say I'm very, and that's what kind of helps me with these investigations too, is, I can sense things. I go to a location, I feel like, okay, this room's, you know, I feel like I have to go to this room. I go to that room and it's like I start getting activity or whatever the case
Mm-hmm.
is. So I definitely feel like I'm empathic. But with the whole like me connecting with the other side of my sleep, the one who brought that to me was, and I had some psychic, mediums tell me like, oh, you have abilities, but not that I can personally say like I could see things, or like I know everybody kind of channels differently. And I was curious like how psychics, or mediums, I know there's a difference, like do that with like whether if it's like scribbling or like tarot card, like each one has a form or way of channeling, right?
Sure.
But with me, it's like I don't know. Like I don't say like I'm a psychic or a medium because I just don't see it myself. Other than my sleep, I do feel like I connect. But I can't say like.
Do you do astral projection, something like that, or just?
One time when I was doing the White Hill Mansion investigation, and April Bousset was on that. She kind of, she told me, I'll never forget this. She's like, "Hey, are you a twin, or do you have like a twin?" I'm like, "Well, no, I'm a Gemini." I'm like, "Does that count?" And she's like, "No, I'm not talking about horoscopes." She's like, "I'm not," she's like, "I'm not talking about horoscope."
She's
like, "Are
funny.
you a twin?" I'm like, "No, I mean, I don't know. Other than I'm a Gemini, no, I don't think I have a twin unless I don't know about it with my family." Like, if I don't know, no. And then she was like, no, I don't know what's that. She's like, it's just weird because I'm seeing like it's like identical to you, but it's you. It's like another form of you. She's like, do you astral project? And I'm like, well, I did one time have like about outer body experience. Like I remember like waking up from my sleep, and it's like I remember seeing myself sleep, and I like freaked out. And I guess like I since I freaked out, like I jumped back to my body or whatever. So it wasn't like it's just that kind of experience. But I do remember it was like the only one I had. And she was like, no, I don't think it is. I just think like you're still learning. But do you like see like the other side in your sleep? I'm like, well, yeah, I have that since I was a kid. Like I kind of, feel like they connect with me that way. And then she was like, well, that's a form of like psychic mediumship that you have because that's like a form of you connecting with the other side, but it's in your sleep, which makes sense of why you astral project or why you have another twin. I'm like, what? So I don't know how that all connects, but that was like the only person that has told me that. I had other psychics told me that, no, you have like more abilities than just being an empath. I just don't, I guess I haven't dabbled in it or whatever, or opened myself up to it. I don't know, but I know I can say it like in my sleep. So I don't know if that's a form of mediumship, but according to April, I was like the only person that kind of like, oh, okay, maybe. But I don't want to like claim that I am, because it's just like, I don't know,
Right.
But, yeah.
I mean, but that's something definitely for, maybe you to look into, because
Yeah.
April, she knows what she's talking about. So
She does.
yeah.
That's what I'm saying. She's really good. I'm
Yeah.
like, man, I gotta look into that. But no, you're like the first. I told him like you're like the first. Like that's so crazy. So my mom though, she has a tendency to astral project like a couple times. So it's like I know it runs in the family.
I was
so
gonna say, well, there you go.
Yeah, exactly. That's like it's crazy
solved.
that she said that. Yeah. So I guess I do have that gift. I just have to practice it more, ground myself more. I don't know, but we'll see.
So what's your ultimate dream location to investigate that you have not?
That's so hard. There's so many.
I'll give you do two.
It's so hard. I am between, I know it's very impossible, but like either the pyramids and then like Dracula's castle in Transylvania.
Yeah.
Like I've definitely dined because I'm all into like the weird vampire stuff. But I think those are the two places. The catacombs is like probably like they're down there, but I think between the two with the pyramids and like,
either one of those would be amazing, right?
So. Yeah, I think between those two, that'll be really freaking cool to check out. But I mean, it's just in the United States, I think it's just like, I don't know, there's so many. It's hard to like pinpoint because it's a lot, you kind of look at places like, oh, that looks cool. Oh, I want to check that out. Oh, that looks cool. And then like ideas like the battleship. I've never done a battleship before. And that was cool that I did that. So I'm like, oh, cross that off the bucket list.
Got one off the bucket list.
So it's like, there's so many, but I would say like the top two, and unfortunately they're out of like the country. I'm sorry, y'all, but they're cool places would be those two.
Hey, that's a goal for you, to maybe one day.
I want to travel the whole world, just like kind of discover it all, but that's like probably impossible. A lot of money.
Well, you never know.
Right.
But,
you never know.
Never know. But you know what? I do appreciate you coming and being on the show and getting to talk with you. Everyone, please go check out the Supernatural Eye on YouTube. Like I said, subscribe. Also, if you need to subscribe here too, if you haven't already, yes. I'd appreciate it. So you're right. And check out Party Paranormal. And Supernatural Eye and Francesca Garcia, our guest tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor, and we got to collaborate soon. Come down to South Florida.
Yeah. Oh my God.
The battleship for sure. I'm going to see you, but you need to come down.
Yeah. That's like almost a year. Have to do something before then. And you can always come to New Orleans too. Cause we have plenty of stuff here.
That's on my bucket list too.
Yeah.
Ta-da. Up there.
Right. There you go.
I hear it's like New Orleans or Savannah. It's like one of the two. It's like high up there. I don't know which one's the most haunted, but I hear it's like the two are battling in the United States.
Yeah. We have like fights and stuff. Yeah.
I know. What's up with that?
I don't know, but of course, where my heart lies. New Orleans. So thank you everyone for watching, and I will see you next week. Have a good night.
Thank you.